Es war einmal. Once upon a time there was a king, and the king had 3 sons. And he said, I don't know which of you should become king after me. The only way I can decide is with a test. Now here are 3 feathers, 1 for each of my sons. And whichever one of you can bring back the most finely woven fabric, the most beautiful cloth, he will become the king after me. And this feather is for my eldest son. And he let the feather go, and the feather floated softly towards the east. And this feather for my second son. And he let it go, and the feather floated towards the west. And this small feather for my youngest son, the fool. And this feather floated down and landed on the ground and was just sitting there. Go and find your fortunes. And the elder brother, he rode off and he laughed. And the second brother rode off and he laughed at the youngest brother, who was just sitting there in front of the king's palace. Simple fool, you'll never find anything. But the eldest brother, he rode and rode until he came to the house of a weaver who could weave the finest cloths. And the second brother rode until he came to the house of a smith who could hammer any metal into any shape. But the third brother, he just sat down on the ground, and he was sad. Guten Morgen, hello. But just after a short while, he found that he was sitting on a door. And he looked down, and there was a kind of knob. And he pulled that knob and opened the door, and the door led down, down, down into the world below. And the youngest brother set off down that dank, deep stairwell until he came so deep down, and he came to a little door. He knocked upon the door, and from inside he heard a strange sound. Maiden green and maiden small, hop to it, hop toad, don't you fall. Hop toad high, hop back and fore. Quickly see who's at the door. And the door opened, and there was a scaly-skinned little toad. And behind the little toad was a great mother toad with bulging eyes. What do you want? Said the mother toad. What a voice she's got. And he said, all I want is a finely woven cloth. Well, said the mother toad. And she called, can you say it with me? Maiden green and maiden small, hop to it, hop toad, don't you fall. Hop toad high, hop fast, hop free. Fetch me the box as quick as can be. And the little toad hopped away and returned with the most beautiful silver box. See? And she gave it to the young, foolish prince, and he opened it. And out of the box, what do you think was inside the box?
Cloth.
Out of the box came the most beautiful, woven cloth. And it was decorated. And the youngest brother was amazed at its beauty. And he carried that cloth up the deep, deep stairs to the surface. And there were his older brothers, and the eldest brother had bought a very beautiful cloth from the weaver. And the second brother had brought a rather dirty cloth from the smith. But when the king saw the cloth that the youngest brother had brought, he said, "Oh, this cloth has never been made before. It is the most finely woven cloth I have ever seen. You, my youngest son, you will be the next king." "No," said the older brothers, "that cannot be. He is a fool. There must be another test." Well, the king had the pressure put upon him, and the king could not disagree. And the king said, "Very well, a second test there will be. I declare that whichever one of you three can bring back the most finely wrought ring, why, he will be the king after me. Bring me your feathers. Bring me your feathers. Bring me your feathers." And he had the 3 feathers once more. Dankeschön. And he held up the one for his older son, and it blew softly in the wind towards the east. And the second feather for the second son blew softly in the wind towards the west. And do you know what happened to the third feather, the small feather for the youngest son? It just floated down and landed on the ground in front of the palace. And the 2 older sons rode off, laughing at their young brother. The eldest son came to the house of the weaver, and the second son came to the house of the smith, he could make anything out of metal. But the young brother, as he sat there while his older brothers laughed at him, he felt something. What was he sitting on? A door. And he opened that door and he stepped down into a deep, deep stairwell. Down and down and darker until he came to a door. And he knocked on the door and he heard a sound. Can you remember? "Maiden green and maiden small, hop to it, hop toad, don't you fall. Hop toad high, hop back and forth. Quickly see who's at the door." And the door swung open, and there was a scaly-skinned young toad. And behind her was a great mother toad with bulging eyes. "What do you want this time?" said the mother toad. "Why, I must bring back a finely made ring." Let us see. "Maiden green and maiden small, hop to it, hop toad, don't you fall. Hop toad high, hop fast, hop free. Bring me the box as quick as can be." And the little toad hopped off and brought back the silver box. And it was given to the young prince, and when he opened it, what do you think he found inside? Most beautiful ring, decorated with splendid flowers. And he took that ring and made his way up the staircase until he came to the surface. And there were his 2 older brothers already returned. And the older brother said, "Look, look at the ring I have brought." But it was nothing more than an old curtain ring, because what else could the weaver make? But now, pushing past him was the second brother. He says, "See the ring, it is of finely burnished iron." But then the youngest brother held up his ring. "Why," said the king, "never have I seen such a splendidly wrought ring. You, my youngest, have earned your right to be king after me." "Not him," said the older brothers. "Not him. He's a fool. There must be a third test." Well, the king was easily persuaded. And the king said, "Very well. whichever one of you can bring back the most beautiful bride, he will be king after me. Well, he took the 3 feathers. Thank you. Danke. And he held them up. We will see. And he let go of the first feather, and it blew towards, and it blew to the house of the weaver. And he held the second feather for the second son, and it blew towards the west, to the house of the... You know what happened to the third feather? Just floated down the ground. And the 2 older brothers rode away, laughing at their young brother. And he sat on the ground, and as he sat there, what did he feel beneath his self? A door. And he opened that door and he climbed down those steep, steep stairs that were dank and dark, and darker and darker and darker, until he came to that door. And he knocked upon the door, and from behind the door he heard, "Maiden green and maiden small, hop to it, hop toad, don't you fall. Hop toad high, hop back and forth. Quickly see who's at the door." And the door swung open, and there was the young scaly green toad. And behind her was the great fat mother toad with the bulging eyes. "Again," she said, "what do you want this time?" I want a beautiful bride." "A bride," said the mother toad. "Is that all you asked for?" "Maiden green and maiden small, hop to it, hop toad, don't you fall. Hop toad high, hop fast, hop free. Bring me the box as quick as can be." And the little scaly green toad, she hopped away, and she returned with the box. And he held the box, and he opened. What do you think he's going to find inside the box? Do you think he's going to find a beautiful bride? Do you think he's going to find a bride? Do you think he's going to find a bride? Well, some people are saying no. And he opened the box. But the box was empty. What should I do? What should I do? And the mother toad, she said, "There's nothing for you in the box, but take my daughter instead, the little green scaly toad." And he looked at the little toad with horror. He set off up the steps, and she hopped up the steps after him, flopping from dank step to dank step. And now he came to the surface, and his heart was full of dread, and he stepped out into the bright sunshine, and there was his elder brother. Oh, and she had returned with a wonderful bride, the daughter of the weaver, and her hair was like woven flax. So fine was she. And there was his second brother, and she had come with the daughter of the smith, and she was strong with raven black hair and eyes like shining steel. But now the king looked, and the young brother hung his head. But when he looked, his father's eyes were alight. And he looked to the side, and there, next to him, was the most beautiful maiden, with shining green eyes. She was beautiful. Never before have you seen such a beautiful girl. And the king said, Why, you will be my son's bride, and you, my son, will inherit my kingdom. You will be king, and she will be queen. Oh, there will be a wedding. And his elder brothers looked, and they had nothing to say, for they were awestruck by her beauty. And a wedding was arranged. People were invited from far and wide. There were nobles, important people. The weaver and the smith were invited too. There was a triple wedding. The eldest brother married to the beautiful weaver's daughter with her flaxen woven hair, and the second son was married to the smith's daughter with her black hair and steely eyes. But most beautiful of all, the toad, who had turned to a princess, and she was dressed in the most rich and beautiful fabric. Who would like to be that princess? Oh, no, sorry, there can only be one. Would you like to come? Perhaps afterwards, at the end, you could try this on when we finished all the stories. Turn out, face out that way. That's it, like that. It goes with your hair. Would you like to hold that in front of you? No. Hold out one big finger. Hold out your biggest finger. Oh, it's a very big finger. And there was the ring. Hold it up so it doesn't fall off. And look round at all the people at the wedding who've come to celebrate. How wonderful. She was splendid. And everybody danced and sang and played music. Well, everybody, that is, who could dance and sing and play music, because those who couldn't, why, they told stories. And that was me. I was there at that wedding. Oh, will you look after the ring and the fine fabric dress until we finished? Thank you very much. And that is the story of the 3 feathers.